Sometimes in life, things just don't work out.
Sometimes in life, things just work out in your favor.
Like one time, my friends ditched me overseas with no money.
I accidentally ordered 2 mini fridges off of Amazon.
And then I had to pay a man $100 to buy a $5 train ticket because I had the wrong currency.
And when I tried to cancel the second one, they told me I couldn't return it, but I was gonna get a refund anyway.
So I ended up paying way more than I ever should have.
So now I have 2 mini fridges for the price of one.
Life sucks.
Life is awesome.
Oh, it's not that bad. It's not that bad. It's not that bad. Let's get fired up.
So like I said, on my way to the bathhouses, I ran into, let's just call them the others for now. The people who betrayed me multiple times on this trip, and I knew they were going to be in Tokyo today, but what are the odds I was going to run into them? Apparently it was a fateful encounter, but that's a story for next episode. And that's today. Today is a story of betrayal. So, on my way to the bathhouses, I ran into the others at some shops outside the Sensoji Temple. At this point, I'd grown a lot from my trip, and I wanted to let bygones be bygones, so we caught up and exchanged some stories from our last few weeks. I had plans to get to the airport later, but we agreed that it might be easier to get to the airport together. I was pretty clear that I had no cash to buy a subway ticket, but John told me that he would lend me the yen I needed and I could send him the money when we got back to America. $5. None of us had any data on our phones either, so we agreed to meet back in front of the subway at 7 p.m., over 2 hours before the plane took off. Now fast forward through my day, and I made it to the subway station a few minutes early just to be safe. And luckily I did because they weren't even there, but the subway stations in Tokyo, they all have Wi-Fi, so I spent about 30 minutes texting and calling them, trying to figure out if they were okay. But eventually I had to just take the train to the first stop at Tokyo Skytree Station because I couldn't wait any longer. And I felt kind of bad ditching them, but I'd already missed one flight this trip, and I could not afford to miss a second one. The Skytree was kind of confusing to navigate, but eventually I found the subway station I was supposed to be at. Unfortunately, I had just spent the last of my yen on the last train I took. This was where John was supposed to come in handy, and I was starting to realize that my friends weren't going to come in handy today, so I had to figure this one out alone. There were 2 trains that would take you from the Skytree to the airport, and at this point, I could only afford the more expensive and faster train because time was not my friend right now. So, I needed 2,000 yen, and all I had was 0. But I did have a 100 euro bill, so I had to make that work. I go around to everybody around me. First of all, I had to find someone to speak English. That was hard enough. But when I finally did, I offered him a great deal. I'm going to put the conversion rate right here so you can see how good of a deal it was for him to be exchanging a 100 euro bill for a 2,000 yen ticket. Because I was so surprised when the man declined the offer. Luckily, somebody else overheard me, and he was not about to pass up that deal, so he helped me out today. When I finally get on my train, that's when I get a message from Franklin, letting me know that everybody's at the airport already and waiting for the plane to take off. Turns out I never saw them at the subway station because they left a few hours early without letting me know, knowing very well that I was relying on them. Makes sense. But it's okay because now I'm on my train, so it should be good. But sadly, this is the part of the story where I tell you that navigating Japanese subways is a little bit confusing when you can barely understand what they're saying on the intercoms or what language they're speaking in, and you're already exhausted and tired, and you're carrying half your body weight in bags, and you're just running on fumes at this point, okay? So it comes as no surprise that I missed the stop I was supposed to get off at to transfer trains to get to the airport on time. So now this is happening. I'm going to walk you through what happened next very slowly because it happened extremely fast for me. The train I was on, the wrong train at this point, finally reaches the last stop and everybody climbs out and starts walking calmly up the stairs. I'm surrounded by a lot of business-looking men, and then I'm just this sweaty kid with a giant backpack running past everyone. I was the first one to the front desk, and I asked the man when the next train will come to take me to the airport, and he told me in 45 minutes, but my plane took off in 25, so that was not going to work. So I look at him, and I point to the taxi cab sitting outside the station, and I say, "Is that here for somebody?" And he said, "No, but there's only one here right now, so you'd better hurry." So I ran to the front of the group of people again, and I threw my things in the back of the taxi cab, and I start rambling at this point because I'm tired, and I was just trying to tell this man that I was running late and I needed to get to the airport as fast as possible. He looks back at me and straight-faced, no English. And I did not have time for this right now, so I said, "Narita Airport, quickly!"
And he said, quickly, and I said, quickly.
And I think this is the moment this guy's been waiting for his whole life, because he sped off from that train station so fast.
I was watching the GPS the entire time, and it looked like a 35-minute drive, but this man definitely understood the assignment, because at one point my GPS showed us going 65 and a 30. And then at one point another driver cut us off, and my taxi man slammed the brakes so hard that I smashed my face into the back of his seat. He looked back and said, "You okay?" And as soon as I answered, he sped off to the airport.
I knew at this point that there was no way I was making it to the airport on time, so I asked the universe for help. I'm in the back of a taxi cab. I asked the universe to just help me. I did not want to miss this flight. And guess what happens next? Guess what appears in the clear night sky? A thunderstorm. A thunderstorm out of nowhere. It wasn't on the weather app, but it was in the sky, and it delayed my plane by 10 minutes. So we reached the airport at exactly 9:18. My flight takes off in 2 minutes. I have an app, Kayak. If you use Kayak, I love it. Kayak will tell you exactly when you're allowed to check into your flight, right? Down to the last second. So I'm sprinting now. I'm sprinting through the airport looking for where I'm supposed to go. I finally find the room full of gates, but I don't know where my area is. So I find the closest security guard. I say, "Hey, where do I go?" But he doesn't speak any English. And luckily, somebody over there just randomly heard me speaking, and he said, "Hey man, I see the place you're looking for. Go over there." So now I'm running, right? I'm sprinting through this last room. I make it to the gate. There's people just behind the desk, but I scared them because they were not ready for anybody to be coming right now. They didn't even want to help me out either, but I showed them my phone, and on my phone it says I have 23 seconds left to clock in. So they look at each other a little bit confused. They make a phone call. They find out that the plane's already been delayed by a couple minutes. So they help me out. They start rushing me through customs. They get me through everything as fast as possible. And now I'm sprinting through the airport with a security guard next to me. We're about to make it.
I made it at exactly 9:27, and if it wasn't for so many things happening along the way, I would have missed my flight. If I had hesitated one time, if I wasn't blessed with a thunderstorm, if I had lost determination at any point for 23 seconds, I wouldn't have made it, and I would have missed a final part of my adventures in Hawaii. But that's a story for next episode. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for liking and subscribing. Comment down below the next vacation that you want to go on, and I'll catch you guys next time. Live forward, learn backwards. Peace.